All right, people. Sakimoto24 here. I'm here to talk about my most recent VDL team, my team for season 7. I'm very excited to talk about this team. I didn't really do much of a team reveal video at the beginning of the season, as I usually don't, but I wanted to because I really like this team. But I'm actually glad I'm going to discuss it more now because there are a lot of things about this team that I discovered along the way. I actually think this is maybe my strongest VDL team, and it's probably my most favorite VDL team. Unfortunately, and I'll get into it in a bit. This was not a season where I could just feel like I could commit as much time to, especially around playoffs near the end of the season. And I wish I could have. I think this could have been a team that could go far. And I don't know. Unfortunately, it just wasn't able to happen. But I'll kind of get into maybe why and some details about the team because it was a really fun team, and there's some Pokemon in here that I would encourage others to draft because I think they're very, very cool Pokemon. So every season when I think about it, I don't create a very big draft plan. I usually have a couple Pokemon in mind that I want to look at, that I want to try out. And this season, and I usually, first I'll say, usually I experiment with a style of team one season, and then the next season I try to take a different direction. And last season, what I wanted to do is I had a rain team, and I wanted to be a very, I have a sort of a core that it used, like a rain core, and I wanted a lot of heavy upfront offense. But what I learned from last season is that although I thought my team had synergy, what it had is more of Pokemon that relied on each other to be good, as opposed to Pokemon that were good and then were further enhanced in their abilities by the other Pokemon on the team. It didn't feel like as much as synergy as it was like Pokemon leaning on each other to do well. This season, I wanted to draft a team, especially because I knew I wasn't going to be able to prep as heavy as I would like. I wanted a team that was compiled of Pokemon that were very useful on their own, didn't rely on other Pokemon to, reach their full potential, and then, just not any straightforward combos that I would have to use like Rain, And you can look at all the Pokemon on my team, and all of them are very good. They might not be amazing, but they're somewhat splashable. Like they're just kind of good on their own. And I wanted to kind of create my own combos and see what I could do. So that was something in the back of my mind as I was drafting this team. I'm going to talk about the individual Pokemon and why I drafted them first. And I forget the order that I drafted them, so this might be a little out of order, but whatever. At the beginning of this season, Pokemon I really wanted to try out was Scizor. I think Scissor's really cool. I think Bullet Punch is something that's fun to play with. I just think it's a Pokemon that really no one drafts and utilizes, and I wanted to take it for a ride and see what it could do. Initially, I wanted to pair it with a Dragon and Flying type, either a Salamence or a Dragonite, something like that. And the reason was I thought they had an interesting type synergy. Dragon and Flying types are 4 times weak to ice types. But Scizor Bullet Punch just rocks ice types. And ice types really don't like Scizor. At the same time, so Dragon and Flying, they have 4 weaknesses. Rock, Fairy, Dragon, and Ice. Bullet Punch from a Scizor, like a priority Bullet Punch, hits 3 of those for super effective. And then at the same time, Scizor can be used as a switch-in for the 4th one. So Scizor was a good switch-in for a Dragon Flying type, but also right next to a Dragon Flying type could utilize Bullet Punch and be annoying. So I thought that would be really interesting, but I also really wanted to draft Naganadel. It's been a Pokemon that's been on my mind, and then when I saw it was tier 2, I was like, oh, I gotta get this thing, especially in a non-max format. So So yeah, I started out just thinking I really want Scissor Naganadel, and I ended up getting those two as my first two picks. And I was, Naganadel's type synergy isn't as good as a dragon flying in my mind, but at least it's really strong Pokemon, and it can do like Sludge Wave around Scissor, so that's some good synergy. And just so I started out with a very high offense, two picks. And I really wanted a bulky water type. I really wanted Suicune, but I think I could take him by Lucian really early. I thought Suicune would have been amazing on this team. I also thought about Gastrodon because Scizor and Naganadel both 4 times resist grass and are very good against grass types. So drafting like a water ground type I thought could have been really useful. And I think my team could have protected it against the grass types very well. But Gastrodon was another tier 2, so Naganadel, Scizor were both tier 2s. I didn't want my first 3 picks to be tier 2s. I just thought it would limit the flexibility of my draft moving forward. So, but another Pokemon I really wanted to try out was Crawdon. And so even though it wouldn't function as like a bulky water type like I was initially planning, my team having, I thought it would be a really cool Pokemon to try out. I've wanted to try it for a while in the non-max format. Even in a max format, it'd be fun. And then I thought, I can use both the priority of Scizor and Crawdon to create some like offensive pressure and open up strategies and things like that. So I said, screw it, I'll get Crawdon. And I didn't draft Crawdon third, but it was in the back of my mind. It was part of the plan for a few picks. So, but with that in mind, I was planning on drafting a lot of offense, but not a lot of bulk. Scizor, Crawdon, Naganadel, not a lot of bulk there. So I don't know if I grabbed this next, but actually Goomer told me, he said, why don't you just get Crest, dude? And I was like, and I had been thinking about Cresselia, and I was like, you know what? Sometimes it feels like a boring mon, honestly, because like its move pool isn't even that crazy. But it just, like, the more I thought about it, there was literally no reason not to draft this mon. It fits so well in this team. It was a ground switch in for Naga, a psychic switch in for Naga. It was just it, and it just provided so much bulk that wasn't in the plan for this team yet. So I thought, let's just go for it. Let's do it. So I got the Crest, and Crest was incredible. I didn't use it to its full potential, I think, but it did do some really cool stuff, and it's just really annoying. Like that mon, honestly, its support move pool isn't that insane. This mon just has the most bonker stats, like defensive stats of all time. It's just insane. And you don't need Eviolite. You can run various things. It does get Icy Wind. It gets, Trick Room and that sort of thing. So I had a bulky Trick Room setter then. And then I think after that I got Torracat. I think maybe I got a Torracat pretty early. I'm familiar with Torracat. Torracat was on my first ever championship. My first draft team ever, which I ended up winning whenever that league was. Pokemon Battle Fortress. And I had Torracat on that, and it was really good. I'm a fan, so I thought I'd pick it up. It would knock out, it would check those boxes for Fake Out, Intimidate. It has pivoting potential with Parting Shot and U-turn, and I'm just comfortable with it. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get this mon. So I got Torracat, and I think something interesting about Torracat is, even though it's a mon that really needs Eviolite, like you could do like a Scarf set or a Sash set on it, but I think Eviolite's the best. It doesn't really care for other items. Like you're not tempted to run anything else. You don't really need to run a Barrier, a Life Orb, or a Expert Belt, or I don't know. Like you kind of just always want Eviolite, and that's fine. Like who cares? Like it doesn't really mind being taunted. It doesn't really mind, I don't know. It's fine just running Eviolite every week. So even if your opponent knows it, like it's totally fine. So I got, at this point in my draft, I had Naga, Scizor, a lot of high-powered offense. Naga had a great speed tier as well. So I had fast offense. I had bulk with Cresselia, I think, at that point. And then I had Fake Out and Intimidate. And then in the back of my mind, I was going to get Crawdon. And then I think around that time, and like I said, I don't know if this is in perfect order. I don't think it is. But I really wanted a Defiant mon, because if I was going to draft Crawdon and Scissor, and if I wanted them to be a big part of the offense, then Intimidate was going to be a problem. So I really wanted a Defiant Mon, but I really didn't like a lot of my choices. Really didn't like my choices. But I didn't know what other tier 1 I might want. So I started looking at Thunderous, and I can't believe I didn't consider it earlier. Like, it was really more of a spontaneous decision to get him. But Thunderous was like a perfect pick for this team because it provided Defiant, and it also provided me Prankster, which was huge. So I could knock out a couple other things that were really, really useful on the team. I got Prankster, I got Defiant, I got, a little more special offense if I wanted to, also physical offense, a very good speed tier. It's only weak to ice and rock, which Bullet Punch just destroys, so that was some nice type synergy. I really like that. And if you notice on my team overall, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 ground weak Pokemon. If you ignore my tier 1s, I have 3 Pokemon that are weak to ground, and then no ground resist. But then I have 2 tier 1s that are both immune to ground. So it really worked out really, it was nice having those tier 1s because, people can spam ground against me. Because Torracat and Naga were really useful. So just being able to, like, Earthquake or High Horsepower into me wasn't, could have been scary if I didn't have those mons. What was also nice about Cress and Thunderous is, like, they were 2, like, ground immune mons. They were good switch-ins, but they were also very different in what they did and in their typing. So, like, Thunderous is weak to rock and ice, but Cress is not weak to rock and ice. So if you're trying to read a switch for one of my flying types or my ground immune mons, it's very different. You can't just fire off an Ice Beam and expect it to do much into Crest, but at the same time, you fire off a Snarl or a Dark Move into thinking Cresselia's coming in, it could be Thunderous. So that was nice that they were different, and Thunderous is optimal in more of a fast mode, whereas Cresselia maybe a slower mode because it has Trick Room. And then Crest was more bulk, where Thunderous had a little more power. So it was nice that they could function differently in the ways that they did. I think I may have picked up Crawdont next after that. And then with those 6 Pokemon, I was feeling really cool. So I had a lot of priority offense with Scissor and Crawdont. I had Fake Out, I had Intimidate, I have an Eviolite I had a beast boosting, crazy offensively powerful Naganadel. I had Thunderous, I had Prankster, Defiant, I had a bulky Cress. Like, just with those 6, I was feeling so good. And then the rest of the draft was sort of just rounding out my type chart. I think this team actually has the best type chart of any team I've had by far. I had already mentioned sort of the ground weakness that I had aside from my tier 1s. So I picked up Galurk because having a ghost type is really nice to flowchart, and you can just avoid Fake Out. Having a ground type is really nice because it's a switch in for Crawdont. And at that point, I didn't have any electric. Well, I guess Naga is an electric resist, but, like, you don't really want to use Naga defensively. So I thought Galurk might be nice, and I really wanted to try out Galurk. No guard dynamic punch is annoying. I thought it was just, I don't know, it was just a decently good ground type and ghost type, and I wanted both those types, so I picked it up. I got Machamp because I love Machamp. Actually, I don't know why I freaking love using Machamp, but I think Scarf Dynamic Punch is a really good set for Machamp, and there's some other interesting stuff you can do. I think it actually has some really good support tools, and I think it's really interesting, and I wanted a fighting type. And I think Machamp was actually my last pick of the draft, and I'll kind of explain why I got Machamp over some other Pokemon I could have gotten. So the Carbank was, I think, the reason I got the Carbank is that this team doesn't have Tailwind. And Tailwind would have been nice, but I think having only Trick Room or Tailwind, I think having Trick Room is better. Because Trick Room not only can be used for your own speed control, but Trick Room counters Tailwind. Whereas Tailwind does not counter Trick Room. So I think Trick Room's a little more important. Like, to have Tailwind and not Trick Room, I think would have been worse. But at the same time, if my opponent was super prepped for my Trick Room mode, they would have to be prepped for Cress. And so I just pick up Carbank as like an alternative Trick Room setter. If my opponent just had like crazy good dark types like Goltris or something, then you know what? That's fine. I'll use the Carbink instead. And Dark stinks against Carbink. So, and like Ground is good against Carbink, but it's, doesn't affect Crest. So, I would have sort of two Trick Room setters that could be used very differently. And Carbink can do some interesting stuff. I think it can do Power Meteor Beam if it wants to be a little more offensive. It has Clear Body, so I actually wanted to run like a Bulldoze Weakness Policy Clear Body stuff. I wanted to do that, but didn't end up doing it. And it got me a Rock type and a Fairy type, which was good for my type chart. Another thing about Carbink is it's 4 times weak to Steel, but it's the only Pokemon on my team that is weak to Steel. Steel's not good against my team. It's, I think, resisted by 4 of my Mons. Let's see, 1, 2. Yeah, I think 4 of them. So Steel not very good in my team, so Carbink felt really good. Dunsparce, I think having a bulky, annoying... It's not even that bulky, but like it has a set of moves. But having like an annoying, supportive, like stally sort of normal type, I think is really annoying. And then having like a ghost switch in for Galurk and Cress, I thought would have been really nice. So... And I actually really like Dunsparce. I don't know why. I just freaking love Dunsparce. So I decided to get it and see what I could do with it. And then... Oh, the Venusaur. Yeah, the Venusaur. I think Venusaur is... I think my last 2 picks were Machamp and Venusaur, but that could be wrong. But the reason I got Venusaur is mainly because I wanted a grass type, and I think the only grass types available that would work for my team were like Credilli, Venusaur, Lilligant... Maybe like one other one that I forgot about. But, I mean, I know a lot of people said that it was weird that Venusaur is on my team because I don't have a Sun setter. Like, a good Sun setter. Like, a Crest can set Sun, but that's I don't know. I'm not going to... It wasn't something I was going to prioritize. But I actually think Venusaur being a tier 3 is really just not bad as a Pokemon without Sun. Like, it's got decent stats. It still has, like... It has Amnesia, Leech Seed, stall potential. It's just strong. It can do pledge stuff with Torracat. AV was really good with it. It's just like a decently strong grass type. I don't know. And it also... I could use it if I was going up against a team with Sun. So it could sort of make it awkward for them to use Sun against me because Sun is actually very good against my priority Pokemon. It's good against Crawdon because it lowers its offense with Aqua Jet, and then its fire types are very good against Scissor. So I really didn't want to see Sun. I didn't really want to go against Sun teams. So Venusaur felt like a decent counter to them. And then Machamp. So I think Machamp was either my last pick or the last Pokemon I decided on. And my thought was I either want an Ice or I want a Fighting type. So Fighting types were going to be good against Normal, Dark, Rock. And I felt like that was more useful, like having a Pokemon that can hit Dark types or Steel types. Because my Fire type is not very offensive. And then my Ground type is Galurk, which can be unreliable. So it's like I'll have another Pokemon that can hit Steel types, and then I also want to hit Dark types because my Fairy type is Carbink. And then Scissor is a good Bug type, but Scissor isn't good in every matchup. So I thought Machamp would have been better than an Ice type, which would have hit Flying, Grass, which my team just was not scared of Grass at all at that point. So I didn't really feel like I needed an Ice type, so got Machamp. But that was kind of my thought process going into the draft. I wanted to draft a bunch of Pokemon that functioned on their own, and they were really good. And I didn't expect this team to be very good. But as I started playing with them, I realized that they actually had a lot of potential and a lot of tools that were really annoying to deal with. As I said before, I didn't have as much... I felt like I didn't have as much time, or I wasn't willing to commit as much time to prepping my butt off for all these matchups. I feel like if I did... what I wanted to try to do, and this is sort of it, and because I didn't have as much time, but also because I wanted to experiment with a different style of play. I'm a very prep-heavy player. Every move I put on a Pokemon has a purpose. Like, I'm not just going to throw Protect on a Pokemon for no reason. It's because I envision myself using Protect in certain scenarios. But that sort of prep style can be time-consuming. And I wanted to try a style more of, like, I prep six mons that are pretty good. They work well together. They have some type synergy, and I just kind of jump into the match and see what I can do with them with a less strict plan, a less flowcharty plan. So I wasn't really flowcharting leads most of the time. There are a couple matchups where I flowcharted specific leads, like against Kirky and against Sam, but a lot of the other times I didn't really have a specific lead plan. And I think if I would have taken the time and flowcharted more with this team, it actually could have been really good. But I think it did function fine without that. And yeah, but it was a good learning experience to learn that I am a more flowcharty player, and that sort of, and I have an appreciation for the players that can kind of just put together a team, go to team preview, and develop a plan kind of on the spot. It's difficult. It's hard. But let me talk about some of the combos on this team, and I'm really sad that the season's over because like I wanted to play like 30 more games with this team. This team had so much stuff I wanted to do, and had a lot of interesting mons that I really wanted to utilize in different ways, and I didn't get to do all that. So let me talk about some of the things on this team, some of the synergies. First of all, Scissor and Crawdon, insane priority power, like Choice Band or Life Orb, Crawdon, and Scissor were so annoying because they could put on this insane offensive pressure. It doesn't matter if your opponent tailwinds. It doesn't matter if your opponent trick rooms. You have priority and you're going to go first. So they were really annoying to deal with. Like if my opponent had a Pokemon that was hard to deal with, like if they had a really strong, I don't know, Ice type or Rock type or whatever. If they had a Vanillux, if they had a freaking strong Fire type, great, that's fine. I'll Life Orb Crawdon next to Helping Hand. Like that's. What can you do? You have to get rid of this Crawdon. It puts on so much pressure, and it's really annoying. And I sort of wanted to play this team in the style of like a slower play, even though they were so offensive. I wanted to use the bulk of Cresselia and the annoying support of Thundurus to sort of chip down my opponents, like the Pivotee, Fake Out with Torcat, sort of chip down opponents, and then put my priority Pokemon, like users, in good position to put on pressure. Because, if I chip down, let's say a Charizard to half health, Aqua Jet's taking that thing out. So, like, that thing can never touch the field when Crawdon's on the field. So it made for a really sort of a potentially strong chess game that I could play. But I think like Crawdon and Scissor having so much priority was really nice. And the other thing about them was that so they could open up other opportunities for my team. But what else is nice is that something that shuts down priority is Psychic Terrain. But Scissor and Crawdon are very good against Psychic types. They don't care about Psychic types because they're Dark and Bug. So I mean, fine, bringing in DD against a Crawdon, I can just knock off, you're dead. And by the way, for the Crawdon fans out there, an adaptability knockoff from a Crawdon is stronger than an Urshifu Wicked Blow. So, and I didn't realize this until I started doing calcs with it while playing during the season. Crawdon's very, very strong. Like, very strong. Scissor Bullet Punch is very strong, but Crawdon, every Dark and Water move it uses, it blows teams up. So if you can maneuver yourself in a position where you can actually use like a Choice Band Crawdon, I mean, you're just destroying things. You're absolutely destroying things. So yeah, that was a really fun mon to use. But as far as the other Pokemon on my team, I talked about some of the type synergy earlier, but like Naganadel, I think was a Pokemon. Well, let me just go through all the Pokemon from the top to the bottom and talk about exactly what I liked about them and how they were useful. Cresselia, super bulky, and I think what it provided for this team is with all the offense on my team that my opponents needed to prep for, they also had to worry about a Calm Mind Cresselia just 1v4ing, And so I knew my opponents had to have a plan for it, whether it be Sheer Cold, whether it be Trick Choice Scarf or Taunt or whatever. I knew my opponents had to have something for it, and I could try to exploit that. And I really liked Crest because it's like, depending on what you run, it can be so annoying. It can be so annoying. Leftovers or Moonlight or whatever. I tried to mix up its sets a lot and use things like Specs, use Scarf, use AV, and sort of bring a surprising set. Like when I played Panda, game 2, He just did not expect the choice scarf set, and I was very fortunate that he didn't, and it practically won me that game too. Just that surprising bring, in my opinion, like it just made it. It was just. It was able to throw my opponents off sometimes, but bringing weird sets with it, like the fling against Kirky, it just works. Like against his team, it just works so well, and I don't know, that mon is insane, and it's just so freaking bulky. I guess not really, honestly, not much more to say about it. Like it was just a good mon that I think psychic types are weird. I don't typically like psychic types. But I think just like having a bulky one was probably the way to go for this team. Very big fan of using it. There's some other cool stuff you can do with it, like I did Psycho Shift with Flame Orb, because you can always just Moonlight back up. You're not worried about getting chipped down, and you can burn things. So you can like run Calm Mind and Psycho Shift, and then you have a way to neuter their physical attackers while boosting your special defense, and then you're just super annoying. So I don't know. I really like that mon. Thunderous I probably used more defensively than I should. There were some times where I could have run just like Choice Specs Thunderous, and it would have looked better than the sets I brought. There were some times I tried to go for like Substitute Leftovers bulk up sets, which I think can be really good. But like I said, the way I was prepping this season, I needed to have sets that were easier to use and quicker to use off the cuff, as opposed to something like Bulk Up Leftovers, which you really need to flowchart for, like to make the sets work, especially in the VDL. Like you can't always get away with some like these crazy strats. You got to have a plan for them. But I really like Thunderous because it like Scary Face and Thunderwave are really nice for my team because. Like Crawdaunt and Scissor, although they can do priority moves, what they really want to do, like Crawdaunt, Aqua Jet is nice, but what Crawdaunt really wants to do is launch off and knock off. That's really what Crawdaunt wants to do. But it's so frail, and it really wants speed. Like you have to have good speed control for it. So Thunderous was able to provide that for Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt is not going to outspeed a lot of mons with just a +1 speed advantage. But if you were to Thunderwave or Scary Face, and put them at -2, then Crawdaunt was going to outspeed stuff. I think it can outspeed... Yeah, I think it can outspeed Dragapult. Like an Adamant Crawdaunt can outspeed a Dragapult at -2. So, yeah, so that was really, really nice speed control support. Also, Eerie Impulse was super annoying. So I have Crest with Calm Mind. I have Thunderous with Eerie Impulse. Super annoying for special attackers. Torracat with Parting Shot with Intimidate for, physical attackers. A lot of just really neutering support, like annoying support. But also, you could also run like crazy shit. Like against Goomer, I ran the Scarf Electro Web, and it totally he didn't realize it was coming, and it pretty much gave me a free win game one just because it was surprising. And I did get sort of lucky in that scenario, to be honest. But I guess the point I'm trying to get at is Thunderous is very flexible. It also deterred Intimidate because my opponents didn't know if I was running Defiant. So it was just a very flexible mon. It could be very supportive. You could run bulky Citrus Berry. You could run Sash. You could run offensive items. Like this mon has so much flexibility, and I didn't think it'd be as good as it was. I thought it'd be better in like a max format, and maybe it is, but it was so good in this format. So I would heavily encourage people to draft Thunderous. It's so good. You can use Thunderwave, and then if you go up against like a strong ground or electric team, just use Scary Face. And you can also set Trick Room and then use Thunderous to Scary Face your own Pokemon to make your Pokemon slow in Trick Room. So good. It's insane. And then your opponent, like, they might be prepared for Prankster Thunderous, but then what if you're running Choice Band Wild Charge? Like, it can totally throw your opponent off. So the flexibility of that mon is insane. And to have it as on this team was really, really nice. So I guess I'll move on to Naga. Naga was... Honestly, I approached Naga in not the best way to utilize its full potential throughout the season. When I prepped with Naga, First of all, it has a very good support move pool, and I wanted to use that stuff more throughout the season, but I didn't. You can actually run AV with Breaking Swipe, Snarl. It gets Charm. It gets what is it? It doesn't get Encore. It gets Ally Switch. It gets some good supportive moves. But obviously, with Beast Boost and its speed and special attack stat, you're probably going to want to run offense. And Draco Meteor just blows things up. It's like pretty much as strong as a max move, so it's insane. But the way I approached prepping most time with Naga is I wanted to get Naga in a position later in the game, or maybe early on, in a position to just straight up sweep my opponent with Beast Boosts. But I don't think that was always the right approach. I was too concerned about keeping Naga alive and getting it in a position to 1v4 or take out my opponent's entire team, as opposed to just having it like utilizing its offensive pressure and doing a ton of damage before dying. I think I should have used it more in that regard, like just run Life Orb or Specs Draco Meteor and just blow something up. Yeah, I'll be at -2 or -1 after Beast Boost, and I won't be able to sweep their whole team, but getting those quick KOs early with Naga was something I should have utilized more. And that's my fault as a player. I was always too intrigued by its potential to go for Sludge Bombs and Dragon Pulses and then, try to get 4 kills in a game, So, but I think it is really good. I think its typing's good. It's one of the few dragons that really doesn't mind fairy types. You can blow it up with Sludge Bomb, and its special attack stat is very high. So like if you give it a Life Orb, you're gonna hit things hard. Especially next to Helping Hand. Like if you're on a Helping Hand Life Orb and do like Sludge Bomb or Dragon Pulse, you're gonna get KOs with Naga. You can also EV it in a way to give you a special attack boost or a speed boost, depending on what you want, which can be really nice. I think on this team it was nice because it could Sludge Wave next to Scissor, and it could also, I could put it next to Scissor or Crawdaunt, and if I wasn't quite powerful enough to get a KO, to like get an Oko, well, I could chip it down with a Bullet Punch first, and then finish it off with like a Dragon Pulse. So that's some stuff I could do with Naga. But yeah, I think I should have utilized its offensive pressure more and just gone for damage and KOs and let it die, as opposed to being so obsessed over keeping it alive and having it completely sweep my opponents. I definitely would recommend drafting this. It's so good. And I wish I could have used it better, but I didn't. But it's a learning experience. Every season's a learning experience. Scissor, great mon. It's 4 times weak to fire, but I have Intimidate, I have Eerie Impulse stuff, I have Naga, which resists it, Torcat resists it, Crawdaunt resists it, Carbink resists fire, so Scissor was fine on this team. And then Thundurus could also Rain Dance, and that was fine. Like, Scissor was pretty good, and Bullet Punch was nice. But what I found is, like, in matchups where Bullet Punch wasn't doing much, there's no reason to bring Scissor. Like, it didn't do much else besides put on Bullet Punch pressure, and like it can do more than that. It does get Dual Wing Beat, which is boosted by Technician and is very strong with Scissor. And then also, you can run U-Turn, which is always a good move. It also gets Quick Guard, which is nice. I mean, it does get, like, if you're able to get like a Sword Stance off and you have a Life Orb, Bullet Punch it's so much offensive pressure, it's insane. So but Scissor was fun. It's also at a decent speed tier, like 65, where you can Scarf it, and it can be pretty cool. Like, you can do Scarf U-Turn, and then if you see a Fire type, boom, Scarf U-Turn on the way out, throw in Cress or somebody who doesn't really care, or Torcat, and then you're fine. It was good against those Psychic types, which were nice, because they threatened Naga and Machamp, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, you could run like a lot of different items on it. So even though Bullet Punch was like its main source of offense and like pretty much the reason you're going to bring Scissor to most matchups is because of Bullet Punch, you still had a lot of flexibility as far as some of its other moves and items you could run. You could run Choice Band, Life Orb, Scarf, like I said, Sash, a Berry even. It also gets Iron Defense and Roost. So I did want to run like an Iron Defense Roost set one week, but it was hard to use. I was dreaming a bit. I was dreaming a little bit. But yeah, I thought it was a very good mon overall. Torracat, Um, like I said earlier, Torcat was great. Like even if I ran Eviolite every week, it was really cool because I could run Fire Pledge with next to Grass Pledge Venusaur, and that was kind of a cool combo I could use. Um, Even though its attack stat isn't very high and its special attack stat isn't very high, it does get Flare Blitz, I think, and it gets Overheat. And Overheat is very strong. I mean, it's essentially 1.5 times as strong as a Flamethrower. So even though your special attack stat isn't that strong, Overheat kind of makes up for it. I don't know, it was solid on this team. It just gave me the Fake Out and Intimidate pressure that I kind of needed to open up other strats. But what I will say about Torcat is it does lack offensive pressure. Like if my opponent's not weak to fire, then this mon really is not doing anything besides faking out and parting shotting. Like it's really not. It can taunt, but there were the matchups when Torcat was bad. Some of them in some of the matchups when Torcat was bad, I still brought it and it just did nothing, and it really but that's not Torcat's fault. It was my fault for using it in the wrong way. But it just, and I let my opponents take advantage of it because they just knew it was going to do nothing after Fake Out. So I should have been more aware of the matchups when it was good and when it was bad, because I think it's a very, very good Pokemon. I just think that I did not utilize it in the best way. And I knew when it was happening. I immediately after the match, I just thought, man, I knew Torcat was going to be bad. I don't know why I brought it, yada yada. But I think it's a really good mon. I think it's very, very draft worthy, and as a tier 3. I liked it. I said I like Torcat. Like I said, some of my matches it didn't seem very good, but that's because I really shouldn't have been bringing it. It wasn't its matchup to really shine. So, but it did what it needed to do, and I really liked it on this team. And it is nice that it's pretty fast. Like it's like even with Eviolite, it's not super bulky because it only has 50 on the defenses, but. So you really want to invest like in max HP and in bulk, but it was nice having 90 speed because my opponent had like another Fake Outer. I could potentially guarantee the faster Fake Out, so that was nice. Something interesting about Torcat, which is kind of sad, is it does not get Snarl. Only Incin gets Snarl, so that kind of sucks. But it's still a really good mon. You can pivot with either Parting Shot or U-turn, so you have options there, and it's not bad. Venusaur. Assault Vest Venusaur was pretty good this season. That's mainly what I used it for, and it was just like, I mean, it does get Frenzy Plant, so it's very strong, and you can run Overgrow and be even stronger. I mean, you could set this on yourself, but it's just, you probably don't want to because Venusaur isn't like crazy bulky, but it was nice. It put on the pressure I needed to when I really needed grass pressure, and it was an alternative poison type. For Naga. I think it was really good though. When I brought it, I think I utilized Venusaur better than I did Torcat. Like I brought Torcat to more games, but I also brought Torcat to games when it shouldn't have been there. Whereas Venusaur I was more careful about bringing, and I think the matchups that I brought it in, it was useful. I mean, it's an all around good mon. I really wanted to run like a Leech Seed Amnesia set this season, although I didn't. But I think that set can actually be really good on Venusaur, like Black Sludge, Leech Seed, like Leech Seed, Giga Drain, Protect, and then like Sleep Powder or I don't know, something annoying. You can even run Synthesis too. Yeah, I mean, it was good. There's not much more to say about Venusaur, I guess. But I really wanted a Grass type on this team because like it was another Electric switch in for Crawdaunt. And then it was also a way for me to hit water types because Thundurus, I didn't want like Thundurus to have to carry too many rolls, and I didn't want it to be the only way I was going to hit water types because like bulky water types are really annoying because they resist Crawdaunt, Aqua Jet, and Scissor Bullet Punch. So like I really, really wanted a good grass type to be able to hit those water types. So that was a big reason why I wanted Venusaur, or I wanted a grass type in general. And plus, like, Crawdaunt Aqua Jet could protect it from fire types. Scissor could protect it from ice types. Scissor could also use bug moves to protect it from, psychic types. So, and Crawdaunt could protect it from psychic types too. So, it was pretty good, like, type-wise on my team, I think. Crawdaunt was, like, so good. Crawdaunt was so good. I'm so glad I got it. It just puts on so much pressure. Like if you ignore this mon for one turn and you overread a protect, and you let it launch off like a life orb knockoff, you're just dead. Like, it's so strong. It's disgusting. Like I said, it's stronger than Urshifu Wicked Blow. It's just nasty. The nice part about Crawdaunt was you could literally run Focus Sash with Aqua Jet Protect Liquidation Knockoff. You could run that every week, and it would be good. Like, you could literally message your opponent and say, hey, this is a set I'm running. And there's still nothing they could do about it. It was still going to be annoying to deal with. So I think it does get Dragon Dance, which is interesting. And I think Dragon Dance on Crawdaunt's actually pretty good because like you can run Sash, and then you can run and then you can go for Dragon Dance, and then you can go for like +1 Aqua Jets, and you'll most likely outspeed other priority mons at that point. Or if you don't get hit, I mean, and you're not really in threat of going down, you can go for like +1 fast liquidations and just roast. If you get a Dragon Dance off, Crawdaunt will sweep. Crawdaunt will be very difficult to deal with. So, but you just need that one turn to set it up. Swords Dance also very good on it. It could also run special. Like, there were some times I wanted to run Scarf, like Scald and Muddy Water and Dark Pulse and things like that. It gets Snarl too, but like, you're mainly just going to want to blast people with Crawdaunt. It was a very sort of like tunnel vision mon. It was like a one-trick pony almost, in the way that it was just like, give this mon a Sash or like an offensive item and just have it do some damage quick before it dies. But it was useful in that way. And it was nice having like a psychic immunity for Naga. It also threatened ground types for Naga, threatened the fire types for Scissor. It was really, really good on this team, and I'd definitely draft it again. It was so good. Galurk in most matchups was so nice to flowchart with Thunderous, because I could do like Discharge plus Earthquake, or Scary Face Earthquake, or like Choice Scarf Galurk was amazing. I wanted to run Choice Band earlier in the season. I brought, like, it's actually really good, and I know it got obliterated by Lucian, but I actually brought the wrong EVs on Galurk. And I thought it could have actually been very good against this team. But Galurk was nice because it just couldn't be faked out. So it's really nice to flowchart with and give it a Scarf or something like that. I don't know. You know what Galurk does. It does damage. It's like really not that frail. 89 HP with 80s on the defense really isn't that bad. That's pretty much around the same bulk as Machamp. It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much more to say about it, to be honest. I really wanted to run some funky stuff with Klutz. I wanted to do Trick Assault Vest stuff or Trick Sticky Barb stuff. I also wanted to run like Power Herb with Fly and Phantom Force. I thought that could have been cool, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a dreamer. But Galurk actually did very good this season. Let's see what his stats are. Its stats were... yeah, KD was 6-2, so it's pretty good, honestly. I brought it 5 times. It's pretty nice. Yeah, I thought I did really well. Machamp, like I said, there was actually some interesting stuff you can run on Machamp. And let me hop over to... Should I hop over to Showdown for this? Yeah, let's hop over to Showdown. Really quick. I just want to show you real quick. No. Oh, look at this set. Actually, this is for fun. I really wanted to run this season as like a slight meme. You just get like a Breaking Swipe Snarl Toxic Naga, and then you basically just set Trick Room and then Guard Split Naga, so it has like, you just toxic things down, and you have Black Sludge, and you have freaking Guard Split from a card bank with like max defenses, and then you're so annoying with Breaking Swipe and Snarl. It actually could have been cool. But anyway, Machamp. I like, if you get a Guts boosted Machamp, you're gonna wreck things with close combat. But also, I think I ran like Blunder Policy one week, and I thought it could have been really good. I think I ran it against Lucian like the first time I played him, but Blunder Policy was really cool because you could run like Dynamic Punch, and you wouldn't run No Guard. You'd run Guts. So like, even if you got burned, who cares? Or like Thunder Wave, who cares? You get more powerful. But you could run like Dynamic Punch and then like Brick Break. So you'd have like You go for dynamic punches. If you hit, amazing. If you miss, you get the blunder policy boost. And then you can run like encore. You can run coaching. You can run. Let's see. Get some other cool supported moves. Look, it's knockoff. You actually get light screen. Rock slide's annoying. Throat chop. Wide guard. Quick guard. Like, you could run all that stuff. You could run Leer. You could run low sweep. You could actually run. I think it gets rain dance. I think that's legit. Rock tomb, scary face, sunny day, tickle. I don't know. It had some cool stuff it could do. So it's actually an interesting Pokemon. Like, you could just go for Scarf, No Guard, Dynamic Punch, or you could run some other interesting stuff. I don't know. I think Machamp's cool, and I like it, so I thought it was pretty useful this season, honestly. It did what I think it needed to do, so yeah. I guess there's really not much more to say about it. Like I said, a fighting type is good because I really needed a way to threaten dark types against Cress. And I mean, I like having a mon that can hit a normal type. Yeah, it was good. Carbank, I don't even know if it hit the field this season, but it actually had some cool set potentials. Like I said, you could do power herb stuff, I could do weakness policy stuff, but Sturdy, I think, is an amazing ability. Because if you lead Carbank, like mental herb Carbank next to Torracat, pretty sure it's a guaranteed trick room as long as you have the faster fake out. Like, there's nothing they can do. So, or it's not guaranteed, but it's very, very likely. But yeah, I really wish I could have used it more, but Cress was just so much better in certain scenarios. Even when my opponent maybe had better typings against Cress is just the bigger threat mainly because it doesn't need leftovers for healing. You can run Moonlight, so yeah. But I think the card bank was interesting, and I think it's not as bad as people say it is. Like, it has 150 on the defenses, and it has some good support tools. So as long as your team could deal with steel types, which mine was pretty good against them. I mean, I had lots of good switch-ins for steel types. Then I think Carbank's a genuinely good pick. Dunsparce was another interesting mon. Something I wanted to do. I'll talk a little bit more about like specific combos I wanted to utilize in a second. But Dunsparce, like I said, normal types are really annoying when they're bulky, and you could set up with this mon and it could be really good. I utilized it week 1, I think, and it was pretty good with like Amnesia. You also get Coil, you get Calm Mind, Roost. It's just really annoying as a setup mon. I think that's 99% of the time it's what most people use it for. Serene Grace is great if you can just be run a faster set and go Rock Slide or Body Slam. Like, Body Slam Rock Slide's annoying. But mainly this Pokemon just functioned as like an annoying win condition. It could also use Yawn, and I think I actually should have done that more throughout the season. Instead of running like a 1v4 style Dunsparce with like setup, I should have been running like a Roost Dunsparce with like Serene Grace. Well, maybe not Serene Grace, just like a Roosty Amnesia Dunsparce with Yawn, and instead of trying to like 1v4, just sit out there and yawn everything and be annoying, or Serene Grace Body Slam or something. So yeah, I think it could be really good. And then something else I wanted to do with it is like fling strats. Like with Thundurus, you could I could fling a Keyberry. No, I could fling a Moringa Berry on it. No, a Salic Berry. Fling a Salic Berry on it, gives it +1. And if you run Rattled, you'll also get a +1 from being hit by a dark move. So you'll actually get +2 speed. And then you can give the Dunsparce a Keyberry, give it a defense boost. And then right after that, you go for an Amnesia. So if you have that speed control early, like turn 1, you can go for that fling and instantly get +2 speed, +1 defense, and +2 special defense, like that. And then you really set up the Dunsparce to be in good position. That's something I wanted to utilize this season, but didn't end up doing it. Something else you can do is a similar strat. You can run the Keyberry Dunsparce with the Amnesia, but instead of going for fling with the Salic Berry, I could do Pin Missile with Naganadel, because Naganadel is faster than Thundurus, and it has really low physical attack, like only 70. It's 73, yeah. So the Pin Missile wasn't going to do much to Dunsparce, but it could potentially give it like +4, +5 speed. So that's really, really cool. And that could have been really annoying, like a pin missling rattled Dunsparce with well, I guess it would be rattled, so I couldn't run Serene Grace, but like a fast, bulky Dunsparce just yawning and roosting, so annoying. So I think it's actually a decent mod. It just requires setup and it requires being on the right team. But there were some really fun combos you could go for, and it's just fun playing with Dunsparce. Yeah, overall, I think this team, like, I'll talk about some of the combos. But overall, like, I just like a lot of these mons because they function really well by themselves. And I didn't need any specific combos. You could just you could throw out Cress, instantly pressure your opponents with Trick Room and just bulky setup. Thunderous can do so many different things. Your opponent never knows what it's going to do. Naganadel, you throw it out there, and it just, like, no one wants to take a Draco Meteor from that thing. Like, they're super scary. Scissor Crawdaunt, priority is annoying. Two-shot most things. They're really, really hard to deal with. Torracat, very splashable depending on the matchup. And like Machamp and Galurk were even splashable sometimes. They just weren't as good as some other picks. So yeah, I think this team worked well in that regard because my opponent never knew what to expect. Whereas like last season when I was running a Rain team, my opponent like knew, okay, if I brought Bronzong for Trick Room, then I was probably bringing these other Pokemon. Or if I wanted to go a Rain mode, I had to bring either Mantine or Poliwrath, and then I also had to have Politoed. So it's easier to prep against in a way, even though it had a lot of offensive pressure. This team, my opponents, I could bring any of these mons to any matchup, which is the kind of style of team that I like to have. I'll talk about the combos like I've been saying I was going to do, and then I'll talk about some of the weaknesses of this team. So some of the combos you could run is like I said, like if you're going against a special attack oriented team, you could run Eerie Impulse Thunderous next to like Calm Mind Crest, and then you're never ever ever dying. You could put like, what's some of the stuff I tried to do this season? I mean, you could do Leer next to like Choice Band or Life Orb, Scissor, or Crawdaunt. Sometimes you could get quick KOs that way. So I could run like Leer and Scary Face with Thunderous, and that works really well next to Scissor or Crawdaunt, because if I want speed control, I go for Scary Face. If I want a little more damage, I go for Leer. And then that also works really well next to Galurk. So I could have ran like Choice Band Galurk, and then if I was threatened, I could just Scary Face and get a move off. And if I wasn't threatened, I'd go for Leer, Choice Band Earthquake, and that would be insane. You can't be faked out. So it was just like an immediate pressure sort of combo you can have. Scissor and Crawdaunt just next to each other is really nice, honestly. I don't know if I ever led that, but it's really nice because Crawdaunt covers the fire types for Scissor. Scissor can hit like ice types that can go for Freeze Dry and Crawdaunt. Scissor also threatens the grass types. It's really nice. And the fairy types that hit Crawdaunt. So they were honestly really good together. And then you had Machamp could use Quick Guard or Wide Guard if you really didn't want to, and Scissor had Quick Guard too if we really didn't want to face against Fake Out. Those are some tools that could have been nice. Let's see. We had Pledges with Venusaur and Torracat. That was something interesting. And the thing I like about these combos is they're not things that your opponent can invest too much in their prep, because they really don't know if you're going to run that. And there's like so many little combos I can run. If they over prep for one of those combos, it's not gonna do them a whole lot if I don't even bring it. So that was really nice. Let's see. I mean, I could also use Scary Face next to Naga with like Specs or like Life Orb Naga, and then I'm outspeeding anything I want. Sludge Wave next to Scissor could have been really nice. I think I did that like once or twice. Let's see, what else? I already talked about the Carbink and Naganadel stuff. Yeah, it was just nice having a lot of high-powered offense next to something really annoying like a Thunderous and something really bulky like a Cress. And Thunderous and Cress really could just bring to any matchup, just because of their typing and what they can do. Let's see, what's some other stuff I wanted to try this season? I don't know, I can't really think of them right now that I'm on the spot. Machamp with like Scarf Coaching could have been really good next to a Scissor or Crawdaunt. Like you could throw out Scarf Machamp next to Scissor or Crawdaunt, and then you can make your opponent's in an awkward 50-50 right there, because if they double down the Scissor, like let's say it's Machamp next to Scissor. If they double down the Scissor and you protect and Coaching, that's super good for you. because then you can just bullet punch and roast things. But if they don't, and they don't target the scissor, then your scissor is going to get a free attack off, and it could even swords dance. It could be insane. So there's a lot of ways to put on pressure and make it awkward for your opponents to make like a super safe play. Like I said, Machamp actually had some cool support sets. So if my opponent was playing really safe and was switching around, that's fine. I can switch around as well with Torracat, and I can go for like Encore and stuff with Machamp if they're protecting a lot. It's just, I don't know. There's some cool combos on this team, and it had some really good type synergy. That's what I liked about it, and I had a lot more ways to switch in and protect the Pokemon that I wanted to protect. I think I maybe could have used 1 or 2 more bulky mons. Like really, if you could run like a bulkier Thundurus, and so if it was taking like resisted hits, it could survive for a while. Crest is really the only genuinely bulky mon on this team, aside from maybe Carbink. Galurk and Machamp you can EV to be pretty bulky, but like Galurk doesn't have a very good defensive typing. Venusaur the same thing. It was really only going to be bulky if it just had a really good type matchup, or you gave it like an AV or something. So. Something else I liked about this team is there's a lot of flexibility as far as items. So like, even though Crawdaunt typically wanted to run Sash, you could run Sash on Scissor, you could run on Naga, Thundurus. You could run a lot of other items on other Pokemon. I don't like Pokemon that are restricted to certain items. The exception here is Torracat, but like I could run Scarf Venusaur, I could run Specs Muddy Water Crawdon if I want to, Specs Thundurus. I could run Life Orb Scissor, Life Orb Venusaur, Life Orb Cress even to throw my opponent off. There's a lot of different items I could use here. Weakness Policy even on some of these mons. So a lot of stuff I could do. A lot of stuff I could do with this team. I think it sort of speaks for itself. I'm just looking at all the offense. Let's see. Oh man, there's something else I was going to mention, but I literally just forgot. Oh, crap. I don't know. Well, we'll talk about the weaknesses of the team to kind of finish this out. I didn't want this to be this long, but I guess it's a long team review. Some of the weaknesses are a lot of my offense was pretty frail. Like Crawdon and Scissor are pretty frail, so in matchups where my opponent was really threatening them, I had to prep more carefully, and I had to play more carefully, and I didn't always do that, and I didn't always have the time to do that. Like I said, I think if I would have prepped in a more traditional style where I was flowcharting really heavily, had a plan, like a very specific oriented plan, I think this team would have been better. And I don't think I used all the mons to their full potential like Naga and Torracat. But it was a learning experience, and there was a lot of new mons that I was sort of unfamiliar with, but that were fun to use. Something interesting about this team is the speed tiers. Crawdaunt, Galurk, Machamp, all 55 speed. Dunsparce, 45, Carbink, 50. I didn't have a lot of mons. Like I didn't have any mons in between 80 and 55, which is a very good speed. No, that's not true. I had Scissor. Scissor was 65 speed. But 55 really is not an ideal speed tier because even if you throw a Scarf on there, it's not outspeeding base 110s, I think. Which is really a mark I think you want to hit. Whereas like 65s, I think you're going to outspeed base like 122 or something. So Scarfing a Scissor was really nice. But like if Crawdon, Galurk, or Machamp were just a little bit faster, that would have been amazing for this team. Because I think like Scarfing something into Electro Web or Icy Wind is really useful, and I just couldn't do that with Crawdon, Galurk, or Machamp when I wanted to. I had to do something like Scarf Bulldoze Venusaur or something, for speed control if I wanted to do something like that, and that just is not ideal. Although it could have been cool with Carbink with Weakness Policy. It could have been cool next to Cress or Thundurus or something, but just not. It just requires a more specific game plan, not as splashable. At the same time, those kind of speed tiers, like the 55 speed tier, was okay because I could outspeed some things. But if I wasn't going to outspeed them, I could always set Trick Room and then play in Trick Room. So that was kind of useful. I think having a more offensive fire type could have been a little better just to deal with some steel types and grass types. But that really wasn't that big of a deal. Honestly, this team didn't have too many weaknesses. I think it could have, like I said, I think it could have used a little more bulk, and then some of the speed tiers were a little weird. But overall, I mean, honestly, I think it's a very, very strong team. Mainly because, like, you look at it and you're not sure really what to think of it and what all the combos are going to be, but that's exactly why it's scary, because the combos are not straightforward. You have to prep for the individual mons, but you don't know exactly what they're going to do and what combinations I'm going to use. So, and that's what I really liked about this team. And I could tell playing against some of my opponents that they didn't necessarily expect what I was going to bring. And as a player, I love to use that to my advantage. And I wish I would have planned out some more funky strats. Like, I think the Dunsparce strat I used against Lucian, I think it was really good, but it was the wrong time to bring Dunsparce, like, because he had Sheer Cold Suicune, which I should have been aware of. I should have even expected that, especially since I have Cresselia, Sheer Cold's an obvious bring. So I didn't use all the mons at their optimal times, but some of the crazier sets I think could have worked throughout the season. Like even that Naga Carbink combo I think could have been useful at one point. But yeah, overall, I don't know. This is kind of just like a scatterbrain, like vomiting of my experience with this season and Pokemon strategy and stuff like that. But there's honestly a lot more I could probably touch on in regards to this team. I'm just a little scatterbrained, and I probably should have written some stuff down, but that you get the gist of the team. I think it was really, really good. I think it was really flexible. I think it was really powerful. There was a lot. Like the flexibility and just the individual power of the Pokemon is what I think made this team valuable. You never knew if you were going to go up against a Torracat Cresselia. Like, how do you prep for a Torracat Cresselia lead, but also a Thundurus Naga lead, and a Scizor Crawdaunt lead, and a Thundurus Galurk lead, or some crazy Dunsparce strat? Like, it's hard to prep for all those things and know exactly what these mons are going to do, because they can do a lot of different things. The only ones that are pretty straightforward and linear are like Torracat and Crawdaunt, maybe. I don't know. I guess Carbink and but yeah, it's this is a team. It was a fun season, like I said. I think this could have honestly been like a championship team if I would have played it right. But then again, no team is guaranteed to win a championship. Obviously, in the VDL, it's a tough league, and but a lot of these mons I heavily recommend drafting. Like, I love all these mons, and I'm really sad that I'm not going to get to use this team anymore. But yeah, there's a lot of cool Pokemon, and I don't know. I recommend drafting them. But I think that's it. Gonna kind of close out the video. Very fun season 7. And I guess see you guys next time.